It's a fresh day, it's early in the morning, and we are transporting our Big Bud 747 along with our Hatzenbischler Terminator over to this camp here by Field 1. Hello again, I am Jim Bob, and welcome to our weekly visit to Big Bud Farm. So, field work is the order of the day today. We have 3 fields that need to be planted, but I also want to do some pre-fertilization on these fields as well. You can see I'm just bringing the 747 over here. The seed tank is pretty much full, not quite, but not far off. But what I do want to do, oops, let's fold that up, is I want to top up our fertilizer levels a little bit and our seed levels here. So while that's doing that, let's jump back over here. I want to get the brochard up and running, so I'm going to need a Big Bud for that. I'm going to get this over to our animal farm where our brochard is. Get connected up to that, fill it up with manure, and we're going to spread manure on field 1. And we're also going to spread slurry on fields 3 and 5. Although maybe we may actually do it the other way around. It depends on how much manure and how much slurry we actually have. You can see we're currently in debt in the top right corner, thanks to the cost of that fertilizer. We do still have all that cash that hasn't been spent. It's been put into the bank to pay off our loan. So while we're now sitting at minus $6,264, our actual overall debt is just now $20,000 as opposed to $300,000. So much, much healthier financially than we were, thanks to putting that money in and paying off that loan. It means our interest payments at the end of the day will be next to non-existent. And that'll only help us going forward. And we do have, back in the BGA there, we still have those 4 bunkers that are absolutely bristling full of silage. So we have plenty of cash in hand, sort of sat there at the BGA waiting to be processed. Just got to wait for the time to be right and get that done. That's probably what's going to happen next week when we come back here. This week we're going to be getting our planting underway and get some fertilization put into the fields as well. And then next week we'll look to attack the BGA. Now I don't know if I'm just going to do 1 bunker or if I'm going to do all of them. I suppose it depends on what kind of price we have available to us at the time. But we will definitely be making some money next time out by selling off a load of silage. And we've had a big announcement from Giants. Well, I say a big announcement. We've had an announcement from Giants this week. We now have confirmed details of an extra DLC that's kind of come out of the blue a little bit, really. I don't think anyone was really expecting it. And it's a Roper pack. So Giants are kind of bundling for PC players. They're bundling all the DLC content into a second official expansion if you want to buy it in disc form. So it'll be the official expansion 2, which will be the Coon pack, the Big Bud pack, and now this Roper pack. Obviously there is one disc-based expansion already, which was the Platinum expansion, which came out in November last year. Let's pull that out a little bit to there. I need my wheel loader next. This might be a quicker and easier way to do this, actually. Head over to the BGA. No, that's not the BGA. There we go. Need the bucket. There we go. So yeah, we have a Roper pack confirmed with 6 vehicles. Now there are some images of the equipment already up on the Giants website. There's still more images to be released. We know that there's going to be 6 vehicles and a selection of little bits of extra equipment to go with them as well. So we have a couple of beet harvesters, a beet loader. We also have a forage loader coming as well. So whereas with the Holmer pack we have the Terra Felis, which is used to scoop beets up off the floor. You will have seen that a few episodes back when we built a big beet pile while we were harvesting, and then used the Thelis to load our trucks at the end of that to go and sell and store those beets. The Roper Mouse is the Roper version of that, and there is also a forage version of the mouse, which allows you to pick up chaff and stuff off the ground, and also wood chips as well. So I think that would be quite cool, being able to use one of those for wood chip collecting. There is also a potato harvester that's coming our way, two-row harvester with I think a 10,000 litre storage. I'm going to do a little video at some point over the next few days just to sort of put together some information on that once I've sourced some footage of real-life equivalent vehicles, so you can kind of see exactly what it is we're going to get, what it looks like and how it operates. But yeah, we have an extra little DLC, and it's going to be a cheap one as well. It's going to be, I think, $8 is the price that's announced, so that's probably going to be £5 or £6 here in the UK. Of course, for console players, this is also going to be included in the Season Pass. Now, you may remember I did say that the Platinum expansion was going to be the last DLC included in the Season Pass, and at the time that was correct, but it looks as though Giants are going to give us this little extra DLC. You know, it's quite a cheap one when you compare it to the price of the other ones. $8 as opposed to the 15 that they've been charging for the Coon Pack and the Big Bud Pack. That's, you know, half the price. It's pretty cheap. I'm going to get 6 vehicles that are kind of... I think part of the reason why it's going to be cheap is I think already we have a couple of Roper harvesters available on the mod hub. Giants are obviously confident they can do a better job than the modders, which is not to say that the modders have done a bad job at all. It's just Giants believe that they can do a better job themselves in terms of the models, which is why they're going with Roper. And also I think it's cheap because we already have the Holmer equipment in the game, so it's not bringing anything new in terms of major functionality. It's not bringing, you know, a completely new way of playing or harvesting, you know, like the Platinum expansion did with the sugarcane stuff, which, although fiddly and awkward and time consuming, is a new style of playing. But I think because it's essentially slightly different equipment to what we already have, I think that's maybe the reason why. Plus, as well, in March we are still supposedly going to be getting DLC from the season, the mod contest winners. So we're looking at the Matt XJS pack and the Team FSI potato pack. I have heard rumours that there's been some kind of big problem with Team FSI and that they may potentially have split. I don't know if that's the case, and if it is the case, I don't know what that means for the DLC that they proposed, whether that's still going to happen or not. It may well be that if that's collapsed, that may be another reason why we're getting the Roper pack in March. I will look into those rumours and see what I can find, and I'll post details on my page once I've got anything concrete, and obviously I'll probably mention it in a video next week as well. I think what I'm going to do with sort of Big Bud Farm is I'm going to also do sort of like a summary of the week's events, you know, mod wise and news wise. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we have this this little DLC pack coming out in March, coincidentally, if you believe in coincidence, on the same day, I think, as the scheduled release for Pure Farming. So it may be that they're just trying to steal a little bit of the thunder from Pure Farming there by having something coming out on the same day. So there's a whole sort of host of potential reasons why Giants are going with that DLC. Nothing obviously concrete yet, and not all the details of the DLC are available yet in terms of, you know, all the vehicle information, etc. But we do have quite a fair bit of stuff, so I will obviously have a little update on that in the future. Right, let's get this over to Field 1. Let's get it all set up and running, and then we can start loading up with slurry as well. Oh, actually, I wanted to check before I do this. How much manure do I actually have left? 194,000 litres. It's not a lot, is it? Well, we'll see how far we get. We'll get the manure down, and then if we have to finish the field off with slurry, well, then so be it. We'll have to finish it off with slurry. Alright, so I'm not 100% certain on the working width of this. I can't remember how wide it is. Let's do a quick test just here. And we are too far into the field. So I need to probably be about here by the look of it. Oh, that's still a little bit too wide. I honestly don't think we're going to have anywhere near enough manure to do this field, but we'll do as much of it as we can. There we go. What I'm also going to do is, to save having to constantly refill this thing every 5 seconds, I'm going to go to, let's turn that off, manure buy from the cow manure heap. So that'll use up everything that we have in our cow manure dump first. So you can see the manure figures should start going down as that keeps refreshing. So we're on 137,444 litres of manure in there at the moment. When we come back in a little while, that should have gone down. And everything in the back of this unit will stay still like this. And then once we've run out of all the manure in our manure heap, it'll then default switch over to this and use up whatever's left in the back of our big manure spreader. It is a big old beast, this. So I haven't really used this till the since the DLC came out and I did my Big Bud review video. It does hold an awful lot of manure. 70,000 litres. That hasn't updated yet. I'm assuming it's going to update once the sort of 20-minute cycle goes through. But we'll leave the Big Bud up and running here on this field, and while that's doing that, let's go grab another Big Bud and let's go top up our silage tanker and get that up and running as well. There we go, that's the slurry tanker, almost completely full, and there we go. And if we check, you can see that the manure that we have in stock has gone down significantly now. We've spent around 24,000 litres of manure from our store already. So, we need to go and get this in position on field 3, get that spreaded and slurried. And then we'll check in on our manure again. Okay, so field 3 beckons. Let's get unfolded. Shouldn't take us very long to get this field done at all. You can see we're rocking back and forth an awful lot. Oops, slightly off centre there. That's where I need to be. Reposition. And now we have good coverage on the edge of our field. Right, let's check in on our other Big Bud. So we've done 2 passes and we've used up nearly we've used what, 50,000 litres of manure already, give or take. It's not looking good for the rest of the field, is it? We've done 50,000 litres just to go up and down the field once and twice, up and down once. We're going to have to do that a lot more, and I don't think we're going to have anywhere near enough manure to do this. So we'll probably end up, I think, buying the rest of the manure that we need to actually get this field finished. A bit of a shame. I was hoping we'd actually have enough to do one full fertilisation, but apparently not. Just bringing the Terminator into position. Would like to get this running as quickly as possible. I need to double check the working width, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near wide enough on the manure spreader to stay ahead of the Terminator. Just try and get lined up as best we can. Yeah, it does look as though we are going to be giving up too much in terms of working width. Let's just double check the stats. So, manure spreaders. So the Brochard has a working width of 15 metres. We have an 18 metre working width. So we're going to need to let that pull ahead a little bit more before we can get this started. So we'll turn the engine off. Let's check our supplies. Down to 63,000. You can see the liquid manure is going down because we do have that active on our other big bud. Where is that? Always end up cycling the wrong way through. So there you can see, again, we're taking direct from the cow slurry tank first, and then when that runs out, it'll then kick over to what's left over in the tank. And there goes our manure. So we've got 60,000 left in the manure pit, plus the 68,000 left in here, so we'll probably get about half of the field done if we're lucky. And the rest we're all going to have to pay for. That's going to be expensive. But needs must, unfortunately. Good working speed though, 12 miles an hour. So now I'm in a Big Bud 450 number 3. Because our Terminator is the only one that cultivates, it's the only direct drill, we are going to have to actually cultivate our other fields a little bit as well. So we do have this really big flexi-coil cultivator here. Our other two fields do still have stubble on them, which means the Great Plains Cedar will not plant. So we're going to have to clean off those fields first. This thing is an absolute monstrosity. Look at the size of it. Oops. But while our manure is being spread away, we can use this to start cleaning off the field that we've spread the slurry onto. So let's get this unfolded. We'll do this one manually, I think. Now, there used to be a real problem with this dragging from one side to the other. That should have been resolved with the 1.5 patch, 1.5.1 patch. They introduced the wheel options. It also supposedly introduced a fix to stop this thing from dragging from one side to the other. Let's see if that's been actually, if that is actually the case. So far so good. Doesn't look to be peeling off to one side. It was definitely an issue that I was suffering from with manual cultivating using this particular frame, and so far everything looks to be pretty good. Doesn't look to be an issue anymore. So we can see where is our slurry spreader. It must be down the other end of the field. I do kind of wish we had a bigger draw distance on console than we do at the moment. It's not bad, but it's not great. It would be nice to be able to see stuff in the distance a bit further away. Of course, if you have a PS4 Pro, then and you are using a 4K display, then you do get longer draw distances. but not by much. Of course, I'm only using a 1080p display, so I can only render in 1080p settings, which means it's the standard draw distance, but like I said, even in improved range it wouldn't be that much bigger than it is right now. The eagle-eyed of you will have spotted that we had the bad weather symbol in the top right corner when we first started up, and you can see that it is now starting to set in. It is now getting ready to rain. There goes our slurry spreader in the background there. It's getting cloudier, it's getting a little bit darker, and very soon we're going to have grey skies and miserable weather for a few hours. We still have cultivating to get done before we can start seeding, so we're going to push on regardless. It's not going to affect us, we're not harvesting, so you know, it doesn't make any real difference to us at this stage. But again, you can see that this is pulling nice and straight now. It's not pirouetting off to one side, which is great. Glad that they finally fixed that. Just a little disappointed that it took them nearly 6 months to, well, yeah, 6 months to implement that fix, because they released that 1.5.1 patch in November and this content came out beginning of May, so 6 months to fix that issue, but hey, at least it's been fixed now. And there is the start of the rain. So it's going to be very grey and overcast here on Mustang for the next few hours, I would imagine. Rain generally tends to last about 4 or 5 hours from start to finish point. So a little bit too loose there. There we go. Right. More field work still to be done. Taking a quick look at our other big bud, and we are now using up the manure that we have left in the back of our brochard, which means we are completely out of manure at the main farm. How far have we gone on this field? Not even halfway. We're about a third of the way through this field, so that's just insane how much manure we're going to need to actually fertilize this field once, you know, let alone the rest of our lands. So we're going to need to top this up with the slurry spreader, I think. In fact, no, we're going to buy the slurry. Once this runs out, we'll set it to buy slurry or buy manure. You can see we've got a little bit left, and it's starting to come back in again, but we'll let that recharge. So yeah, as soon as this guy runs out of manure, we will switch over to buy direct. It means we'll end up paying quite a bit more in wages, but it's something we're going to need to do. So I'm going to turn this guy over to purchasing direct now. I want to keep a little bit of manure in the back of the tank just in case we need it. So let's change this now to just buy. There we go. This is going to start costing us a fair bit more money. I also am on the way back to top up the slurry tanker. It wouldn't do the final thin strip that was left. The work wouldn't do it because it was too narrow, and there wasn't enough slurry left in the tank to do a full length of the field. So I've got to go back and fill that back up just to do a small little bit. You can see now the difference in cost. The money is flying out of the account. But we're going to get this field finished with manure. And then next time out, I think we'll do it the other way around. We'll do slurry on this field and manure on the other ones. I think that's probably the lesson that we've learned from doing it this time. I'm also happy that we've got enough of a distance here now, so I'm going to unleash the 747. Get him planting some soybean for us. And this will be putting a second stage of fertilizer into the ground as well. So if we check our map and go to soil composition, there you can see that we have this extra strip here of the darker colour of fertiliser. If we just switch off and switch back on again, there you can see. And if you're wondering why we have this overlap here, this is because I actually lengthened the fields ever so slightly at each end. So you can see it over here. You know, I've extended these headlands, not quite as much because I wanted to have good turning room for the large equipment, but you can see it over here quite clearly on field 3. You can see where the field stops and the headland continues, where we've cut extra down there, and same again at this end. You can see where the field stops and where the extra headland has been extended. And I did the same on field 5 a little bit as well, not so much, but yeah, we have those extensions. So let's cycle back through. I need to continue topping up the slurry tanker, which is parked up on a road somewhere. There it is. We'll get this up, get this refilled, go back and do that last little bit on the corner of or the bottom stretch of field 5. And then we'll break out our Great Plains seeder and we'll start seeding with that as well. There we go, that was it. That was all I needed to do. Just that little strip. So I didn't overfill the tanker for obvious reasons. It didn't seem to be the point. But it does mean I now have to take this all the way back up to the top again. This time to store it and then bring the big bud back and get the seeder hooked up to it. So that gotta go through. Plus I need to cultivate the last thin strip of field 3, then come down and cultivate this field here as well. So still plenty of work that needs to be done. And still the rain continues to fall. Right, let's grab the Great Plains seeder. Make sure that that's topped up. We're going to again be planting soybean on field 3. Although I am toying with the idea of putting sugar beets down on field 5. Oh, this is already full. That's good. So just select the right, select the right crop. There we go. We can get through this way. Open up our seeder. There'll be a bit of an overlap on the other side of the field, so we'll set in just a little bit, like so. And there we go. We are off and running. So let's switch over here. Let's just check on how we're doing work width wise. Still got a little bit of the field to go. We're about 2/3 of the way through the field nearly, and you can just, you did just briefly see absolutely nothing. I thought I saw the big bud 747, but it's way at the other end of the field, as you can see, so we won't see that for a little while yet. Working widths, sorry, draw distance and all. But let's move over to this big bud now. You can see we've got that little strip that still needs to be cultivated. So we'll get that done, then we'll move over to field 5, we'll cultivate that. I think I am going to put sugar beet on that field. We have the sugar beet harvesting equipment, we may as well use it a bit more regularly. Plus we've kind of sold most of our sugar beets already. I don't think we've got anything left in stock at all of anything, apart from TMR materials. So we could probably do with building our stock of those back up again. You can just see on the side there, through the clouds and the rain, our big bud seeding on this field. We're just about finished cultivating here, so let's fold this up, move over to field 5, get that cultivated, and then, say, once we're finished seeding on here, we can then move across and start planting our sugar beets on field 5. Do like how that facility looks now. It looks a lot more like a proper facility than just an empty field with a load of bits just plonked in there. When the way it used to look, certainly looks a lot more like a proper site now. Oops. That little piece on the corner. There we go. Right. We have another field to get done. I think the rain is starting to ease off a little bit. Yeah, there we go. The rain is stopping, and you can see that our Terminator is plodding up and down the field. Done a fair bit already, but still a long way to go. But we should, there it is, just coming into view, should see our manure spreader plodding away there. Make him out through the sort of cloud cover there. You can see the blue skies starting to return. Still a long way to go with our seeding jobs across all of our fields. Our worker has reached the point in the field where he's like, I don't really want to carry on this field, so we're taking over. We're going to do it manually. Obviously there's a thin strip. Oops, wrong button. I meant to use the camera pan stick, that stick, and hit the wrong one there by mistake. We've still got that thin strip that runs all the way down the side of the field. I've just stepped in a bit more just to make sure that we're not leaving any gap, as is a much more likely occurrence when I do this manually. But yeah, we'll run up and down, get this field completed, and then what we'll do is we'll break out the bredel and we'll start fertilizing the planted soybean that we've got going down on field 3, and then obviously we'll do the same on this field with the planted sugar beet once that goes down as well. Let's get to the end here. There we go. Make the turn. And we'll get this field finished off quite quickly. So you guys have spoken. The poll has now completed on whether to run seasons on Deutz farm. That farm is relocating to Gurala. Looking forward to getting that up and running. And with seasons, it's going to be, you know, a third farm. 3 of the 4 farms that we're running are now going to have seasons. This one is going to remain as is. We're not putting seasons on this map. But Gurala is fully seasons enabled. Obviously, seasons in the valley, on the Valley of the Old Farm, that is fully seasons enabled. American Midwest on Houdat Ranch is not fully seasons compatible. So It'll be interesting to see the differences between a farm that is on a map that is and isn't fully compatible with seasons. And we have a lot of animals on American Midwest as well, so that's going to be an interesting experience too. But yes, Deutz Farm will be returning to the channel very, very soon as we've got the first couple of episodes kind of recorded. And it enables us to do 2 visits a week to each of those 3 seasons farms. So 2 days a week we'll go to the Valley of the Old Farm. Twice a week we'll go to American Midwest. Twice a week we'll go to Gorala. And then the final day of the week, the Sunday, will be Big Bud Day. And that will be when we make our weekly visit over here to Mustang Valley. So that's kind of the schedule that we have planned for the near future with Farming Simulator content on the channel. But as always, you know, that is subject to change depending on what happens with the game and if we end up relocating to another map anywhere as well. So yes, Gorala will be coming very, very soon, with Deutz Farm being relocated, and will be, as requested by you guys, fully seasons enabled as well. See, our brush yard is still working away on the field. Not a huge amount left to go yet. Just another couple of passes. In fact, maybe just one more pass after this. I think there might possibly be 2. It's going to be really tight, isn't it? And there's our our 747. Still plodding away here on field 1, getting that soybean into the ground. But this 450 here that's spreading the manure, this has been going for nearly 5 hours, I would say. This was the first piece of equipment we got up and running this morning. More than 5 hours, I would say, he's been going, and still hasn't finished on this field yet. You can imagine just how far back into the field he would still be if we were having to make refill trips every 70,000 litres. It would just take us forever, the entire day, to get this field done. So while it's not quite as realistic as doing the proper refills, it's certainly saving us a lot of time to just have him on purchasing. And of course we did try and use up our own supplies first, but we are into that stage where we just don't have anything left, so we are kind of relying on being able to buy direct. Yeah, this guy is certainly putting in a big shift today. As expected, our worker has stopped with that thin strip that was left over. I didn't go far enough across at the start, so I'm going to have to manually do this. You can see our Breedle is definitely catching us up with that faster working speed, but we've got plenty of clearance yet. He's not going to overlap us. It's not going to be a problem. But I was kind of hoping we could end up this end of the field so I could do a quick refill. I think we'll be alright. It's not a huge field, so we should still have enough grain left in the tank to be able to plant beets without needing to top up. We'll see. But by the end of today, we should have our 3 fields completely planted and already up to stage 2 fertilisation as well. So putting in a lot of work. It means that we can spend all that time next week really working our silage pits unloading all of that silage and making a large amount of money without worrying about needing to fertilise our crops. We'll have a nice little cushion, you know, a nice little window available for us to kind of not let that be an issue. And then when we do come to put that final stage on, we'll use our Amazona Pantera, trying to get all of our new equipment featured in the first of these new episodes for the series. So we'll use our Pantera to apply the final stage of fertilisation. That'll be an expensive one as well, lots and lots of refill trips needed on that one, but I am looking forward to using that. Somehow I knew this would be the case, that we'd have this little thin strip on the very edge of the field all the way up and down that isn't going to be fertilised. And, well, if that's the case, that's the case. I don't have the patience or the money to run all the way down that thin strip of the field for just that tiny little bit. It'll cost us so much, it's just not worth it. So you can see I've turned off the buy manure now. I figured we may as well use up what's left in the back of the tank for this final section here. And if we do end up with a little bit left over, we end up with a little bit left over, which I think is going to be the case. I might then use that to see if I can tag a couple of those little patches along the edge. But yeah, something's just finished. What was that just finished? It's our fertiliser. And again, the fertiliser, you see, stopped. And our worker is playing silly bug. There are some really bad AI issues on the fields. It's unfortunate, but you know, we've had to live with them since day one, so we'll continue to kind of live with them. Oh, look, he does want to actually carry on and go all the way down there. Well, let's take control. This is going to be a little bit clunky, but it will make it last, because there's no way it'll last all the way down the edge. I'm just going to keep zigzagging like this until I'm either out of manure or it's done. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be better than nothing there being nothing there at all. So I'll keep doing this, and I'll check in with you once it's all done. That's it, we've finished spreading the manure. Let's close the back of this up. I need to give this a bit of a wash out. I don't have a pressure washer over here, and I don't think I have one back at the animal farm either, but I do have one at the forest, which is kind of in between the two. So we'll stop in there, we'll give this equipment a good clean, and then we'll deposit it back on the farm by the cows. Need to manually finish this field off. Still got a little bit of sugar beet left to put in the ground, and not much seed left in the tank, so I'm hoping I've got enough and I can actually do this. It's not just this little strip that runs along the side of the field. We've also got that patch you can just see at the top of the screen there, a little dark box that's, you know, a little bit, it's not too long, but it's a couple of widths wide, where our AI decided to turn around before reaching the end of the field. We've got that bit to do as well. We should just about have enough seed left in our tank to be able to cover the rest of this field, but it might be a little bit close. Depends how much we've got left by the time we get to the end of this strip. I don't see it being a major issue. Then once that's done, we've got to finish doing the final strip of fertiliser on field 3, come and fertilise field 5, and our Big Bud 747 is almost done planting soybean on field 1. So we're rounding the end of the day in terms of the work that needs to be done. It's also nearly the end of the day time wise. I mean, you can see it's nearly 4:30 now, so we've been running all day. And we're almost at a time both in the terms of the day and the episode. We will get everything finished before we're done. Oh, there you see the warning. Helper I has stopped work unexpectedly. Tank is empty. That's actually our 747. We were just talking about him, and he's run out of seed. So we'll have to go top him up in just a second. But before we do that, I do want to get this field finished. So need to be nice and tight up against our existing planting just here. Not leave any little strips like that where there's nothing planted. Is that good enough? Just. Okay, so we'll run along this little patch just here. Oh, drifting away again, look. That little scar there, which will mean there'll be nothing there when it comes to growing. Let's fill that line just there. There we go. And now this little patch just here. And then this field is done. We can top up the 747, and then we can get our fertilising done while that finishes off as well. Alright, so let's extend the pipe, refill the seed, and then get our big bud 747 back on the field and finishing off that last little bit of soybean. There's only about 2.5, 3 passes left to go, so not a huge amount of space left to cover. So with the 747 back up and running and underway, it's time for us to get this fertilising finished off. We're just doing that little strip here on the side of field 3, and then as soon as that's done, I'm going to transfer over to field 5, fertilise that, and then this too will be parked up and put away for the night, and then we'll just be waiting on our big bud 747 to finish his seeding. So, field 3 is done, moving over to field 5. Just going to cut through the grass just here. And I'm going to start down the bottom end this time, because I'm a little unsure as to whether I'm going to have enough to actually get this whole field done. So if that's the case and I do need to come back, well, at least I'll be on the closer side. So see, the sprayer is now up and running. There we go. Oh, he's not going to run along here. I might have to do this edge myself. Again, I'm deliberately doing it like this because if I go really tight and try and maximise how far I can get into the field, I know I'm going to end up with a very tiny little strip left on the other side. So seeing as I'm going to have that strip anyway, I may as well make it a worthwhile strip to do. So if you're wondering why I'm jutting myself in like this, it is deliberate. go. Harvesting is now finally, well, I say harvesting, sorry, planting is now finally complete. So, we're going to leave this cedar down here. We'll take the big bud back to the barn, but we'll leave this cedar down here because it's pretty much only ever going to get used on field 1. We can use our Great Plains cedar to do fields 3 and 5, so we'll park this up in here. This should be a little bit tricky. Let's see if I can get this reversed in nicely without making a mess of it. There we go, not a bad effort if I do say so myself. Straighten her up a touch. Excellent. There we go. So we'll drop that off just there. We'll get the big buds back on the farm. The other three are already put away and waiting to be cleaned. We'll get this one put in, and we'll get them cleaned and head home for the evening. So that's it for another episode of Big Bud Farm. We've achieved an awful lot today with our cultivating and fertilizing and seeding and more fertilizing. And when we come back next week, we will attack those silage bunkers and raise a nice huge amount of cash to kind of replace the near 50 grand that we've spent today on fertilizers and seeds and wages as well. So thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and we'll be back on Big Bud Farm next week.